This podcast has mature language, not intended for underage viewers.
Street cred sports. Street cred sports. I'm crossing over. I'm Euro stepping.
Hello, this is Keenan of Street Cred Sports Training, and welcome to a special bonus episode of Time to Ball. We had an event this weekend, and my man came in town, so I figured, let me get him in the booth, put them speakers on, some speaker headphones on, and let him spit some bars. So, all the way from Arizona is my guy, Groth of AreaCodes basketball. We did a showcase, middle school showcase, Hidden 20, and I'm going to let him tell you about it. I got a few questions for him. So like I said, this is just a bonus. I hope everybody's doing well as usual. And let's go. My man Chad. What's up, C?
Thank you. Hey, man, I'm blessed to be here and be in El Paso, a city I really like. Just great people, and the talent level on the basketball scene is getting better and better since I first started coming here years ago.
Right.
And you were holding your Prospect X training,
Right.
combines, and watching the players come through there. And I went into one of them yesterday, who ended up going to college in North Dakota. That was out of your first event.
Right. That was one we did in Canada.
Yep, Alexis.
Right,
Yep.
Alexis.
Yep, and now her little sister
is now over here training. Now, look, I almost canceled on you. I almost didn't want to let you come up here because you were posting the weather up there in Phoenix, that it was 70, and we were dealing with 40 and 50 degree temperatures up here. And I was like, man, he's trying to rub it in over here on his Facebook, talking about the temperature. But I was like, nah, I ain't gonna hold that against him. I'll let him come on in. So, but in any case, man, we did the showcase this week. And I just want you to talk about it, the name of it, what you wanted to, what you felt like accomplishing with this. And I have a few other questions for you because I want the viewers to know a little bit of insight into, you and what you do. So tell me about the showcase this weekend.
Well, first of all, yes, I do a national high school and junior college scouting service. I also include middle school prospects, and that's why this helped out a lot. Because college coaches are on the radar for players at every level. No matter if you're an NAIA player, you might end up portaling and become a Division I player.
Right.
There are quite a few players that have done that. Even Division II players. Of course, junior college is really one of the best ways to go to be recruited, because coaches are looking for experience. So I see you already know I'm at probably over 20 plus events during the year, and then I run my own event, and this is my life. I do scouting and recruiting and on the phone with college coaches more than anybody. So, but this event this weekend was really good. We put the last year's event was our first middle school. That I thought was great.
Yeah.
Coming back doing this year's event, I could tell off the bat that these kids had energy. They listened. I mean, they played with good sportsmanship. They shared the ball. We didn't have any issues.
Right.
And, I just thought this was a really good group. It was hard. Last year, you knew there was a couple top guys right off the bat.
Right.
This year, it's like, wow, who really was the standout? Because these guys were neck and neck with each other. We had some really good players. Vaughn, I'm going to name a couple guys off. Mm-hmm. But Vaughn Romney, a 6'4", 8th grader out of Las Cruces, was very impressive. And now a lot of these kids, as we were talking about, they're going to receive an invite to the Pangos Junior All-American Camp. It's at the end of February. It's in Long Beach, California. Invite only. All right? Invite only.
So can you tell everybody what's important about the invite and going to the Pangos and how it could?
Well, this camp is a prestigious camp, and he takes, I think, 120 max, something like that, 160 max players. Mm-hmm. They come from all over. They come from Canada. They're going to come from New York, Boston, Atlanta, France. You're going to get players from all over. You're going to get guys that are going to be unbelievable and say, "Is that guy really 8th grader?" You're going to get the 7-footer from New York now that's blowing up. You're getting those guys at the 7th, 8th grade levels, and we had a couple that ended up going last year. Doris Owens came out of El Paso, and then Mr. Johnson's son, who now moved to Phoenix, but they both ended up accepting their invitations and going. We had a couple more that were invited but just didn't make it for some reason. So, but this year, we'd say about a handful will get an invite. And some of the other names that were very impressive were Terreno Johnson. He's out of Nolan Richardson Middle School. Very impressive. These kids got a bright future. Diego, I don't know if I say his name right, but Lacan. Yes, another kid that's got great upside. And you got Antonio Goldsmith. Just impressive. I mean, this kid's 6 feet tall, handles the ball. He's got upside. This is the future of El Paso basketball, and there's some really good players. I mean, I'm going to do this event in Phoenix coming up, and also run one in Texas, other parts of Texas. I say Houston, Dallas, but another name was Aiden. Aiden, number 18, Aiden Guevara.
Guevara.
Yeah, yep. He was one of our most impressive players too. And as we go on and on, there are a lot of guys that really stood out. Elijah Pierce, Emilio Trejo. I don't know if I'm saying the names right, but bear with me.
Trejo,
yeah. Yep.
My Spanish is on point.
Yep. I mean, Ethan Johns, he's out of Sunridge. Gabriel and Michael King, they got upside. Ian Mott, Jaden Cano was impressive. I mean, some of the other list was Escobar, Jaden Escobar. I believe he had a brother, Noah. I mean, they all got upside. Mateo, Landon, Purchase. I say that name right.
Yeah,
but
Purchase,
yeah. I've seen him a couple times, and
he was there last year.
Their family has a tradition of hoopers, from what I'm told. So,
well, he was there last year. So
yes, he was. Yeah, and great kid. And matter of fact, he was one of the youngest. He was a sixth grader now.
Last year he was 5th grade,
and
trying to find his way.
And he didn't do bad. So I gave him a little shout out on my Instagram. And my Instagram, if you don't have it, it's AreaCodes Basketball. That's the Instagram. AreaCodes Basketball. My Twitter is AreaCodes. And if you follow Keenan, which you're watching the show, you do, I assume, and that you can see some tags on. You can find me on his site as well. We did have a 5th grader. That was the youngest player there, Cody Lind, and he's out of Tippin Elementary. He was listed like 5'7", some said 5'8".
Yeah.
So he was one of the biggest at that age that I've seen in a long time.
Right.
I mean, who knows? He could spring up a few more inches, another foot. Who knows? So you watch these guys develop over the years, and it's just amazing. Other kids, I gotta say their name is Zion Brooks. He did an excellent job. Xander Matano did great as well. Sergio, another young name. Sergio, I'm bad with his last name. Ruacaba. Yeah, he just had energy. Yeah. He was all over the floor. Number 7 he was. Number 7. He's like 5'9". Or 4'9". I'm sorry, 4'9". And
we talking about the same Sergio?
He grew a foot, right? But no, he did well.
He's gonna get tall.
Man, yeah, he did.
He's about to hit his growth spurt. Some of these kids are going to be hitting their growth spurts because I know a lot of their parents. Some of these kids are gonna get tall. And we might look at this video in 5 years, or you might listen to this in 5 years. And this kid that's 4'9", he could be like 6'5".
Here you go. And then he's get recruited by UTEP and University of Texas. You know, I might need to call Rodney Terry on some of these guys, but that's my guy Rodney. Yeah. So a couple other names off the top of my head that was impressive. I had to say Jordan. Jordan Renaz. Yep, Jordan was good. Joaquin Gillenar. He's at Wiggs. He was number 50. So
Right.
Shot the ball very well. He was up there. I mean, he was either a camp MVP or All-Star Game MVP. He was right there. He's got a bright future.
Right.
I believe he's getting the invite to the Pangos Junior All-American Camp. He's like 6'2", so he's got great upside too. I think he's like 6'2". I think it was. I had in my notes here. Jason Carter, if I didn't mention him before, he's at Nolan Richardson as well. I mean, these kids are going to be some phenoms coming up the next few years. So it was a good camp. Thank you, Street Cred Sports. You guys did an excellent job with your staff as far as the training prior, getting guys warmed up, went through some skill work. I mean, you could just see the guys in the beginning. They all had energy.
Right.
And a couple more names, too, before I forget. Matthew Sanchez, Isaiah Botello, Isaiah Hernandez, Jose Maria Silva. Javen Mike was intriguing, too.
Yeah.
He was one of the top prospects. And then Elijah Harrison. He's another one. You know, these guys are ones to watch over the next couple years, and just a great group. And it was a good time. We got a lot done in a little, and I'm just.
Yeah, well, I got some initial feedback. From what I understand, a lot of people were impressed with how the camp was ran. You always want to make it, to where it feels like an event, to where, like, what I explain to parents is, look, there are two types of kids that, to me, go to these type of events. It's ones that are ready to have their name exposed, they're ready to be exposed, and take that next step as far as getting on the recruiting scene. And then there are kids who are trying to understand where they're at with their talent, so they go to these smaller events and they get a chance to see, where they're at, if they're any good, what they need to work on. So I've always told parents. Now, there were some who was asking me about getting in, and I said, you know what, I don't think this would be right for them. And here's why I said that. Number one, if they're just like really a beginner, they don't understand basketball, then now we're into a dangerous situation where they could hurt themselves or another player, and you really don't want to do it. Plus, if they are so overwhelmed with how much talent it is around them, you don't want them to be discouraged and say, well, I don't want to play basketball because I can never be that good. So, I try to always make sure that I'm guiding people, So there are some that wanted to see where they're at, and they fared very well. So I was glad that they were able to get that experience.
And the number of players that we thought we hitting 20, only wanted 20 kids.
Right.
We ended up exceeding that number by far.
Right.
And it outgrew last year's event. So, but it's a small enough group and a large enough group to get everything done in the time we had. Right. So.
Yeah, and it's good. I mean, it could grow to where it could be a 2-day event with large numbers. We'd have to have a bigger venue to support it, but we don't want to have so many kids. Like, doing 60 kids in a 3-hour event wouldn't have done those 60 kids justice, because they don't all get to play. And
correct.
Yeah, you want to keep it small, but there are ways to accommodate a whole bunch more kids. We just we want to get you there, and we want to make sure that you're not spread too thin when you're showcasing. We had a couple of extra scouting guys who are new to the scene.
Oh yeah, and thank you.
Go ahead, give them a shout out.
Oh, thank you to Coach Lee Williams, SWB Scouting, who's trying hard to get guys from El Paso out, and Billy Keys, former player at New Mexico State, coached in college, quite a few years. He's still into college coaching. He's just out this year.
Right.
And he's starting a scouting service and
Right.
trying to help get kids on the map.
Right.
And you can't thank those guys enough for what they do.
Yeah.
Pretty much volunteering
Right.
their time and energy for what they are
Right.
doing. And I mean, it's priceless what we do. I mean, it's
and here's why I liked it. I like the fact that, I mean, you do what you do. You've always been exceptional ever since I've known you. You have your method. It's like a method to your madness with how you do things. For me, having 2 extra sets of eyes and then watching you guys compare notes, you know, with who you liked and who you like, and then realizing that y'all are all pretty much on the same page, you know, as far as who you liked and stuff like that. To me, it just brings more of a, hey, you know what, this guy is just coming up here and just spouting out names and taking people's money. That's not what your organization's about. That's not what I support. And I know that some parents a lot of times are hesitant because they're worried about this stuff. You had 2 other scouts. You had, myself who was involved. You had ex-college players who were there as well. So you had a plethora. SAT word, plethora. Sometimes if I say a word that's bigger than my regular vocabulary, I say it's from my SAT. When I say a hood word, I say it's a TAS.
you passed the SAT.
Yeah, I passed SAT,
Okay.
man. I only had to take it once back in the day, but I passed it. I passed it.
You didn't get a flag.
No.
Okay.
No, I was good to go. But in any case, yeah, I just think it was well rounded. It assisted you for what you were doing.
Yeah, and like, a lot of people don't know your reach with college coaches and your reach with other scouts. I mean, you can pick up the phone and call guys like Dinos, or there are a lot of college coaches that
Right.
listen to you,
Right. men's
and women's side, at all levels, and you just don't toot your horn or brag, or
Nah, I mean,
you're not that guy, and that's cool. But they got to know your reach too is
Right.
very strong.
Right, and I thank you for all this, because you the one, I said it on our last podcast, you the one who pushed me to do all of this, and it wasn't something I really wanted to do, but then I got in my head, well, if I can go and see and test and evaluate and make sure I know what I'm doing, but to see how I match up against other people as far as recognizing talent, then when it comes to me making that call, sending the kid and saying, hey, I evaluate this kid, look at what he's doing. So doing the Las Vegas big time live event over there with you, my wife definitely thanks you for pushing me to go to Las Vegas, because anytime we go to Vegas, she good. And then the Pangos freshman sophomore All-American camp in Duncanville in Dallas in October. Those are 2 events that I might try to continue to do, because it was a way for me to test myself. But when it comes to it,
and let's talk about your evaluation on that too, which
yeah,
you had the evaluation down to the T.
Yeah, I was actually happy. I had 25 kids, and I missed kids because it was so many kids there.
There was 200,
It was,
225.
Playing on 3 courts. You're going to miss some, but I identified 25 of those kids that I thought were really good. And of those 25, 19 were either in the best of the best he had or the cream of the crop, the All-Star games he had. And then many of them are now, is it Trent? What's Trent's last name? Is it Perry?
Trent Perry.
Yeah, last I saw he was top 25 in the country.
Yep.
So, yeah, it gave me, a sense of, not relief, but it let me know, like, you know that you're good in your craft, but you always want to push to see if what you think is, is the same as what everybody else thinks. So, and I didn't know anybody up there but you.
Didn't know. Yeah,
so
that's
I
true.
didn't get a chance to talk to anybody. So you pushed me to do things. So I'm always grateful, because my vision has always been to try to help these kids in El Paso to get better.
Yep, and I want to continue to help them get exposure to coaches, other networks, other avenues, and anything I can help them to do. As you're saying, when you showed me that list of guys, like, Keita, there's over 200 guys. I'm looking at this list you had, I'm like, and you're like, okay, let's see who makes the All-Star game.
Yeah.
And Dinos Dragonos put this heck of a Pangos All-South Frost Off
Yeah,
Showcase
All South.
together. It was great.
Yeah.
But I looked at the list. I'm like, I'll be damned. You need to be in that war room with Dinos and another national. 2 McDonald's voting committee members
Right.
were there. Van Coleman and Frank Burleson, and then Ronnie Flores was there,
Right.
who
Right.
covers ball his life. But Katie, I tell Dinos, get him in that room this time, because Dinos, I know you're gonna be listening to this podcast. But what? Last thing though, on the middle school players, I keep these kids in the database.
Mm-hmm.
I do a small report. I will send specific names to college coaches early, so they can put them on their platform, on their board.
Right.
Every coach has a board. 2024 kids, 2025 kids, 2026, on and on. And then they got the portal kids, So I can't give you too much information, but I can just tell you there's a process, and anytime you can get seen by a national scout or somebody that has influence and credibility with college coaches, not just guys that say something, guys that can do. So that's half the battle.
Right.
I see a lot of guys out there putting stuff on, or running camps, or starting club teams for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
They don't play in certain events. They play in specific tournaments. They don't go. Sometimes you got to go out of your comfort zone, which is out of state.
Right.
It's fine to play here, but there are a lot of tournaments,
Right.
such as guys like Jim Hicks runs one called the Icebreaker
Right.
in mid-March.
Right.
Big time tournament. I try to go every year,
Uh-huh.
and scouts attend that.
Right.
And kids get exposure from playing in certain events like that. Gasso helps, but depends what floor you're on.
Right.
There's
right.
a lot of events in Dallas. Yeah, there's some in Phoenix. Do your homework.
Right.
Do
So-
your homework on coaches, teams, who they've produced. Talk to parents. Talk to other parents. Talk to other kids. Get a lot of info.
Right.
Call Keenan. Call me. I'm always accessible.
Right. So, that's kind of going. So, I'm going to use the term segue because I've learned that. We're going to segue what you were just saying into a little bit more specific information as far as how do you help coaches or parents determine, because there are other showcases, right? But you don't want to send them to some place that it's not good. And it goes for tournaments as well. How do you determine what's a good tournament? And because I tell parents there are 2 types. There are just travel tournaments, but it's just a regular tournament in that city, and then there's exposure tournaments, where you're going to be in front of you're going to be playing in front of guys like yourself and coaches and stuff. How do you guide people when it comes to that information?
Well, if you're a coach, if you're a parent, yes, do your homework. Go on the internet. Look at information on the tournament. Call the tournament director. Ask him who's going to be there. Do you have any scouts coming? Who I rarely put confirmed, and then I get people that show up because I don't want to say everybody's confirmed.
Right.
Okay, so you can call the director or person that's running the event, because sometimes companies have somebody running the event.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain companies.
Right.
I ain't saying names, but they're not there running it. They
Right.
hire people to run it
Right.
because there are other places they're running an event here and there
Right.
and there and there at the same time.
Right.
So you think you're getting scouted by XYZ, and no, they're running the same camp in Portland, and they're running the camp in Atlanta at the same time, and it's a money grab. But call them. Call guys like Jim Hicks out of Houston. Who's going to be at your Icebreaker? He'll tell you. He's a national scout. He's on the McDonald's committee.
Right.
He's on the as well the NBA Top 100.
Right.
So you call Hicks, who has a scouting service with hundreds of college coaches, and say, who's coming to the Icebreaker? You can call me. Who's coming to your Easter Classic?
Right.
And I'll be able to tell you.
Right.
My Easter Classic is Friday night and Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
D1s can't attend.
Right.
So I'll have other scouts that'll be there, regional scouts.
Uh-huh.
Might have another national scout, but I am the scout.
Right.
I am AreaCodes.
Right. Right.
I'm enough.
Right.
But,
right.
I also invite college coaches.
Right.
So whether they're NAIA, JUCO. Most of my events in Phoenix do have, because I only run a few a year, but they do have junior colleges.
Right.
Mesa College, Park University, Justice College. Those are NAIA, those two I just said right there. You got Arizona Christian. You got Benedictine. You got Coach East comes up. Or if not, Carrillo gives me a call who can play.
Right.
And then you got Scottsdale College, Phoenix College. They're all Ottawa College.
Right.
Ottawa University.
Yeah.
They're all constantly looking for players.
Right.
They know I cover Arizona. They know I cover other places.
Yeah.
And so they're always in connection with me.
Right.
Like, hey, what teams you got coming? What players do I need to see? That's why it's important these coaches give me intel on guys when they come to my tournament so I can get it out there early. Then I do recaps. So that's part of my service. So I do recaps, and they say, hey, I wasn't able to make it, Coach. Can you give me a list of some guys we're looking for? Our JC program
Right.
still looking for
Right.
a forward, looking for a guard. And just because the school recruits you doesn't mean they're going to take you.
Right.
A letter, a phone call, they're gaining interest. And believe they're not just calling me, they're calling other people. So it fits into character, play, attitude. A coach might call me, but he's going to call you. He's going to call his AAU coach. How was the kid? How was the attitude? How was his body language? Did he get into it with players? Did he get along with players? Did he show up on time?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
that goes into play. But I know we're on a short podcast here, and
This is just a special. We can't give them everything.
I can come back on another time.
Yeah.
Anytime
So let me delve into. You've kind of touched on it, but let's be a little bit more specific. What's the life of a scout like?
Okay, so we're good for another 30 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, scout is a lot of work. We do a lot of, like I said, I was just talking about phone calls and notes and just building relationships with parents and connecting them with coaches, and just you have to have intel on guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, a scout travels a lot, sees a lot of basketball. Like I said, I do a majority of stuff on the phone. I happen to have two phones now. I had one phone for the longest, and now I just had to have two. I just stays that busy, because I take everybody's call.
Right.
I don't brush calls off. Emails, another way to reach me too, or a DM message. Sometimes on social media works, but yeah, just don't waste my time. So.
Right. And how do you recognize talent as a scout? What are you looking for when? I mean, I know a lot of it is what if the college calls you and say, hey, I'm looking for this or that. But let's say you go into it, like for instance, you went into this blind. Maybe you didn't have any college coaches who knew you were doing this and say, hey, we're looking for some 2028s and stuff. Let me know what you see. So if you don't have any information at scouting,
well, they won't be looking for 2028s.
Right
now.
Yeah, right.
I'll just, like I said, I just mentioned it earlier. I'll do a recap, brief recap, on selected players. I'm not going to do every play. Selected players on this event, but we keep everybody in a database. So when you say you might ask about this kid or that kid, I don't mention any name specific, I might be able to pull him up and say, yeah, he did all right, and here's where he's playing at, and here's how he is now, where he's at now, and so
what are you looking for when you watch kids play?
Back to that. I mentioned it earlier. Character, body language, ability, physical. Is he in shape?
Right.
How does he relate with the coach?
Right.
But body language is number one.
Right, and I've learned through the years of doing and being around you and being around coaches, I've learned that there was a lot that I thought was really looked at, and I realized that no, it's a little bit more in this area.
Was that with your conversation with Rod Strickland?
Oh, hey, Rod. Hey, come on back over here, Rod. We got to have part two, man. We had a great spirited discussion.
I introduced Keenan to a good friend of mine, Rod Strickland. If you don't know Rod, he's a former NBA player. Now he's the head coach at Long Island University. So Rod and I were together in Vegas, and Keenan was with me and introduced him. And heck, I guess Keenan's gonna send some players to his guard camp.
I'm trying to get him taken care of. But no, we had a great conversation. It reminded me of back at home growing up, where you might not agree with what the other person's saying, and what I was trying to explain to him is like, look, I'm actually on the same page with you. I just have to help you understand the context of what I was saying. But I agree wholeheartedly with what he was saying about that discussion. But no, shout out to Rod Strickland, man. Keep doing your thing. Keep ascending. And I love, he was one of my favorite players, with that ball. I didn't have a lot, and I'm not like type person that's like goo goo gaga, but I took a picture with him. You were like, take a picture with him. I was like, okay, he's a guy that I'll take a picture with, just to say I took a picture with. But no, it was really good to see.
You probably never posted it either, did you?
No, I did post it.
Okay.
I did post it. I'll post it. I'm not posting because I don't want to feel like, yeah, look, but knowing that I got a chance to talk to him, I was actually supposed to send him some gear. So we need to.
Yeah, this street cred gear is hot.
Yeah, I need to be able to send him a shirt or something.
Yes, you do. And I got one on right now, Street Cred Sports.
So I have 2 more questions for you, and we'll get out of here. You spoke about the portal. So I want to ask you, how has the portal changed things for people like yourself or for college coaches? Because I really don't think, I explain to parents and kids, look, that portal is a beast, and it's making it harder. So you have to even do more to separate yourself, because the portal is making things hard. I think it's making it harder for high school recruits, but it's making it easier for college coaches because they can just go in the portal and get a ready-made kid who's already played a year or two. They don't have to
that's
develop.
true. That's true. I mean, that's what it is. We just got to live with that right now. And for those youngsters coming up in high school, don't shy away from any coach. Right. If you have Division I dreams, cool. But if you're getting recruited by a Division III school, NAI, JUCO, sometimes you might just have to take that and then prove your worth. And they will, if you can play, they will find you. Right. It's anywhere, professionally as well. If you can play, an NBA scout, that's their job. They will find you. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, that's 100%.
And the portal is brutal. It's brutal. So you high school kids, stay on top of your game, because there's thousands of kids trying to do what you're trying to do, trying to get there. Right. And there's, guys like me that coaches rely on. Right. And sometimes they're in a pinch and they need a high school guy. Or they need a guy that fits the criteria. Hey, Chad, I know you've seen a lot of guys. Mm-hmm. This is what we're looking for. Right. And sometimes it's about the parents. Right. How are the parents? Because I'm going to recruit the kid, but we're looking at the parents as well. Right. I don't want a parent that's yelling on the side, banging on the bleachers. I mean, that's not going to fly at a lot of these major universities.
And you think about it, you don't see that type of behavior at Division I programs.
Oh no.
It goes to what you're saying. They're weeding all that stuff out. Of course, you're gonna get the occasional person in the stands, but you don't, like, I can't remember the last time I went to a UTEP game or a college game where a parent was in there complaining and talking, and the coach and the referees were listening. No, that don't happen.
Nope. Because Officer Gonzalez will escort his ass out that motherfucker. Yeah. Excuse my language.
Yeah, no, that's
just
fine.
As quick.
That's fine.
The kid will probably be off the team shortly after.
Right.
And then that will go far, and
it'd be hard to recruit him because of that.
Oh yeah.
Or move to another team.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so this last question I'm gonna ask you is, this is something that I do get parents that ask me, so I want to ask an expert. That's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I kind of know, but I like for them to hear from you. Should you join a travel team that's on a shoe circuit, or go for as an independent team for exposure games when you travel?
Well, that's a good question. There's a difference in shoe circuit teams, and there's a difference, yes, between independent teams. I can say yes to both of them. But if I'm a parent and I have a son, and there's the elite shoe company teams, Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, and then the last tier would be New Balance, Puma, but the top one is Nike. So let's just go example. The only fully funded sponsored teams are labeled on the EYBL top circuit. I mean, just we're an EYBL team.
Can you let people know what EYBL is?
Okay, well, let me give you an example of the top teams. And most people probably do know, Keenan, but there are the top teams in this area that John Lucas, JL3, Houston Hoops, Drive Nation, you got Paul George, and this is more on the West Coast, Paul George, your Vegas Elite team, Team Why Not, who's Russell Westbrook sponsors, but you have Arizona Unity, matter of fact, but you got to play on a bordering state team. But let's say JL3, they don't have a pay-to-play team. They're fully sponsored. You know, meaning Nike funds them, along with Drive Nation, but that's their top team.
Right.
The other teams are paying to play on the circuit.
Right.
That's not saying, well, we're a Nike team, cool, but you're paying to play in the Nike events. Yes, there are different tiers of that. There are different tiers of the Adidas, the different tiers of the Under Armour circuit, where they pay to be a part of that.
Right.
Of that circuit, should I say? Yes, there are only a few teams where they're fully funded. Parents don't have to pay a dime because that team is covered all costs by the shoe company. Yes, independent team, and sometimes you're in a gym where you might not see a scout or a college coach. You might go spring and summer, Vegas. You might go to different tournaments in Kansas City, Dallas, Atlanta, and they might be seeing other players, which gives you a chance to be seen if you can, play your best and get noticed. Yes, but that rarely happens. But to answer that question, if you're independent, you pick where you want to go. So I'm going to endorse certain guys, yes, like the Dinos' events, his full court press events. So and if you need questions how to reach these guys, you can feel free to message me or Keenan. But his events, where he has scouts at his events, national scouts and coaches. You have Hicks, who does his events. So those are good for independents to go to. Kind of shooting this area. Dinos is more California, Vegas. Hicks is through Houston. And I'm just kind of thinking, there are other ones, I'm sure, in San Antonio, whatnot. But those events can help, too. Because you don't know, you got somebody that's running events such as Dinos or Hicks or myself that are backing these teams when they come.
Right.
So I've helped so many kids just because they come to my event. I see them, and it's like they're not getting recruited, so I can pick up the phone and make a call. Yeah, but there are events you do have to. Well, there are events you do have to be careful of going to. But one event that really helped, you were there last year, was the Las Vegas.
Yes.
Big Time, and that is ran at the end of July. And Gary Charles and Grant Rice run that. Las Vegas Big Time was a good event.
And that's an independent?
That's independent.
That's independent.
Yep.
Okay.
Not Shoe Company. Shoe Company is a 10 because their circuits were done.
Right.
College coaches a 10. That's where You saw Rod
Oh, my
Strickland. I mean, there are a lot of coaches that attend. That's an independent event.
Yeah, I look big time in that because I was sitting next to the Duke head coach and the NBA agent. I can't think of his name.
I know Stad.
Yes, and we were talking about. He asked me
Thad Fauscher, who represents. He's an agent for Russell Westbrook.
Right, and he asked me who I thought was the best player on the court, and I told him, and I can't remember the kid's name, but he was playing on Carmelo Anthony's son and LeBron James' son's team.
That was that Strive for Greatness? That was LeBron's team, right?
Yeah, it was LeBron's team, and it was the first game against Sam Mitchell's team, and it was a really good game, and it was like I don't know, 60, 70 college coaches, and I'm sitting next to him, and he asked me what I thought, and I was kind of surprised that he asked me, and I told him, and he's like, yeah, man, that's. And that's when I was like, oh, I might know a little something if this is an NBA power agent agreeing with something I said. So yeah, that was a great experience, and I really I just loved soaking it in and trying to understand. I know sometimes some people go and they want to, bloviate. They're the biggest tool, in the toolbox, and they want everybody to know. And that's not my personality. And the great thing about being around you is that has never been your personality when there. You're just cool, calm. You talk to everybody. Everybody's always trying to get you to come over and talk to them. So I'm very grateful to have you within the circle of people that I trust when it comes to this, because I don't want to have somebody steering me wrong, because then I steer other people wrong, right?
Yep.
And the thing is like I always said, if you're doing things the right way, everybody's gonna start to gravitate to you because, they know that you're honest with what you're doing.
Yeah, and that you're talking about tournaments, and that was a really good tournament where an independent team could go there and play. Matter of fact, I think the El Paso Titans were there.
Right.
They brought 2 teams there, so they had a chance for their kids to get seen too. Right. I did refer a team who asked about it. I did refer a team out of Houston. Coached by Coach Charles Gaines. Mm-hmm. So he had Rayford Austin on his coaching staff as well. So Rayford Austin's son played on that team. They weren't going to go. They ended up going last minute. I ended up getting them into the tournament. Their 8th grade team, which was 14U. They didn't know how they would do. They said, man, I don't know if we're ready. They went. They competed. They knocked off and won the championship, beating Why Not. They said in Paul George, their championship game was against CP3. Chris Paul was there on the sidelines, and he couldn't believe it because his son, these guys from Houston, from Texas, were giving it to CP3 and them.
Right.
You had everybody in the gym. Paul Pierce, NBA, Paul George, who else was on his name? Russell Westbrook was there, of course, because Keenan was with his agent. But, but that's the level where you never know who will see you.
Right.
You never know. And just believe in yourselves, y'all. Just don't give up. Opportunity knocks.
Yeah, you never know. So that's why you got to go for it. And, if you feel like you're confident to play on a shoe sponsored team, then that's your route. But know that you don't have to be on a shoe sponsored team to get exposure. You can start your own independent team, but you just got to make sure you're playing in the events where you're going to get that type of exposure.
Playing the right event. Do your homework. Keenan's got an idea. Call Keenan. Like I said, I'm always open.
Yeah, and I always tell people, hey, I always say, look, I can't call John Calipari and talk to him, but I know somebody that can. That's Chad. So like I already know that. Like, look, it's not a question. If you ask me something and I don't know the answer, I know somebody who does. And 70% of the time it's Chad, because he knows everybody on all 3 levels. So, we're gonna end this conversation unless there's something else.
I'm coming back. I'll be back in El Paso in April after the Final Four. I might come. Trying to see if I can work it out. There's a tournament out here. I don't go to a lot of tournaments. I'm at that time of March because I got so much stuff.
Right.
But I might pop up here for one in March. Don't know yet, but definitely in April, I'm going to run my high school Hidden
Right.
20 like I ran last year. And it was good. Some of the guys from last year's event ended up going to college last minute too.
Right. So event wise, you have your Arizona Spring Showcase.
Yeah, Arizona Spring Showcase. That's in March.
You have the Easter Classic that you're
The
doing,
Easter
right?
Classic. That's in March as
Right.
well.
And then you're looking at coming up here.
Maybe because I
Right.
got
You're looking- yeah.
I got the Pac-12 Mountain West, the WAC, the WCC, and the Big West tournaments, which I attend. I meet
Right.
with a lot of coaches. So
Right.
I'll be in Vegas from the 13th to 16th, and I'm trying to see how I can fly.
Right.
I need to try to get to Houston for the icebreaker for one day.
Right.
So,
So, yeah.
I'm just trying to work out what I can
Right.
do.
And to
And
get
I'm
back
supposed to
up
run
there.
an event in Vegas at that time as well. So I'm trying to see how I can manage things.
Right.
It's last minute.
Right.
But,
I hope.
and then I cover girls basketball too. So
Right.
trying to,
Yeah, it's a lot of hats you wear.
yeah.
It's a lot of hats you wear.
Yeah.
So, listen, this will be all. But look, here's the thing: if you don't already follow Chad, let me let you plug in the different ways they can follow you right now. If they don't already follow you, hit 'em
Feel
up.
free on Instagram, AreaCodes Basketball. That's Instagram, AreaCodes Basketball. And then Twitter is AreaCodes, at AreaCodes. Like I said, if you need any information or direct contact email, Kenny can share it with you too as well. But that's the best way to reach me. Follow me.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. You was like, hey, when we doing the podcast? You was like that after, as soon as you got off the plane when I picked you up. I was like, man, what you mean when we doing the podcast? Let's look at it. Let's get in there and do a podcast. So we were able to carve out a little time right before he leaves, and I'm appreciative as well. Anytime I can get him and people who know or in the know on, so they can talk and educate people, it's a plus, because I don't want to have people on here that are talking and they're telling you the wrong things. So it's great to have them in here. So that will be all for today. A special bonus that we did, and I'm gonna end it like I always do. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. I'm out.
Street cred sports, say it with your chest. Yeah. Go get it from the net. Street cred sports, okay, that's a bet.